Hey guys, how you doing? Luna here with a new video, and today we have quite the special video. You see, the only reason why I started doing these videos and started uploading on YouTube was basically because when I was about 12, 13 years old, I was really into music. I would listen to every single album I could get my hands on. But, I didn't really have much time. I was in school, I was already working, so I didn't really know how to find good albums. I would search for these reaction channels like Shansi and the big black dude that reacted to albums. I'm gonna put a photo over here. I don't remember his name, but I watched a lot of this guy's videos and I liked them. It was interesting because you get like a teaser of the album and you can tell, okay, this album is good, this album is not good, this album is worth it. But honestly, almost no actual recommendations were given by these people. They would only listen to the album and get hyped to it, and it was only rap albums as well. There were no pop albums or anything like that, folk music. They just reacted to hip-hop. So I wanted a new channel. I wanted a channel that I could go to feel like I had my little space to talk about music. And in 2015, a wonderful album was released called To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. And I found a review from this man. This guy is the reason why I do my videos now. I mean, I loved every single second of that review. And after watching that video, I just went and watched every single other review, literally. Because I'm really into music and he's so good in expressing the way an album sounds. It really is amazing, and he's an inspiration for me because I really want to be like that, to be able to communicate like that. And still, even though I have my own channel now, I don't really think I've reached that level of communication. Of course, I'm talking about Anthony Fantano, TheNeedleDrop, Melon. The man is just a YouTube legend. I love every single one of his videos, and it's really exciting when we both agree on an album that should be a 10, so that I thought, I'm going to make a video giving my own opinion on Anthony Fantano's 10s. And that would also work for me to give my own opinions on those albums. So yeah, let's go on. I'm gonna start with this one because the moment I saw this man gave this album a 10, I was so confused. I didn't understand what was going on. I mean, yeah, the album is good. Kid Cudi and Kanye do a really good duo, but a 10? I was so confused that I actually thought he was trolling, because Kanye, the image of Kanye is such a meme now that it's almost normal for you to laugh about Kanye every time you talk about him. But no, he actually thinks this album is a 10. Not that I disagree on the fact that this album is bad or anything like that. I think this album is really good. I actually think that the experimental hip-hop that I actually believe that the more experimental hip-hop that Kanye tried to do on this album was really good, and Cudi's ability to bring that beautiful melody to every single thing he sings, I don't know, they really do work as a good team, but I don't think this album is a 10. I'm not gonna get into detail on why. I don't really care that much about this album, but basically I just think that even though the album is great and it's definitely a standout of the last decade, a 10 means an album that redefines music, or at least is the artist at their peak. And definitely this album is not Kid Cudi's peak and is not Kanye's peak. Both of them have released way better albums, or at least in my opinion. I don't really know, but yeah, this album is definitely not. I disagree with this one. I just get it out of the screen, please. Get it out. This one is actually one of the newest 10s we have received from Anthony Fantano, and I totally agree. This album is amazing. I've only listened to this album once, so I don't want to get into detail with this album because, to be honest, I heard it when it was released and I haven't heard it again. But the first time I heard this album, I could tell this was just a masterpiece. It's a beautiful art pop album. I just love it. I actually think it's a great record and it's totally deserving of a 10. I'll listen to this album again and see if I stick with that. But for now, the memory I have of this album, I believe that it totally deserves a 10. So yeah. Death Grips the Money Store. How can I disagree? Well, actually I do. I love this album. I think this album is amazing. But as I said before, I think that this album should not only represent a moment in music history, but also a moment in the artist's history. I like some of the Death Grips albums more than this one. This one is a bit too aggressive to my liking. Or not aggressive. Every single Death Grips album is aggressive, but too abstract for me to actually enjoy it. Let me put it like this. Even though every single Death Grips album is quite aggressive and quite loud, you can totally understand the lyrics. The lyrics is something that is accessible to you without looking at Genius. Not only that, but I also feel like this album goes on for a bit too long to my liking. I think that this kind of style should be a little bit shorter. I don't want to listen to almost an hour of someone going crazy over a microphone. I don't know, I just don't like that. Now actually, it's not that I don't like it. As I said before, I love this album, and actually, from a technical point of view, I think this album does deserve a 10. But I just don't think that I am happy with this album receiving a 10 and other Death Grips albums not getting the same rating, because to my liking, this is way better. Okay, now we're talking. Every single tune in Swans to Be Kind deserves a 10. I believe that this album is one of the greatest things to be released in the last decade, and it totally deserves a 10. How can I say that an album like To Be Kind by the Swans, 2 hours long, incredibly aggressive as well, deserves a 10? And no, I don't only support it, but I also love the idea of this album receiving a 10. The thing is, well, yes, this album is also incredibly aggressive. It has a lot of quiet moments too, where the artist tries to build up the momentum to then explode the track with a bunch of guitars, screams, and just a bunch of drums as well. And I think that those quiet moments before everything goes wild are key to making this album so enjoyable. This is key to making this album totally deserving of a 10 by the almighty Anthony Fantano, and Death Grips don't. And not only this one, but every single other album released by the Swans is also at a top tier level. Maybe not 10s, but they're really good albums. So if you haven't heard any other album by the Swans, I definitely recommend you to check them out. Actually, the same Anthony Fantano has really good reviews on this album, so yeah. This album makes you feel like you want to kill yourself, but not actually. The album sounds so hopeless. The sounds are so ugly, but in a good way, in a really good, devastating way. This album is aggressive as fuck. Maybe it's not the best example that I can put on the table. Actually, it's quite disturbing. I might edit that out. It's just a different kind of violence. It's not the same kind of violence delivered in The Money Store. The way that this album makes you fear for your life is just amazing. And I really recommend you to listen to this album. And yes, this album totally deserves a 10. No doubt about it. Now we go with the number 10 that made me aware of Fantano's existence. To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. Said by Fantano himself, it's this type of albums that work as benchmarks for the music industry. Maybe this album hasn't been the most influential thing ever. Actually, I don't think we have even a shred of influence from this album in today's music. There hasn't been an album that tops this one in terms of sheer experimentation with the music, and not only with the music, but also with the lyrical themes on the album, the metaphors, the way Kendrick modifies his voice to, deliver a certain message. You get a really aggressive Kendrick Lamar in a track like The Black of the Berry, and then you get a goofy Kendrick Lamar in a track like For Free. There's not a single track in here that I would left off the album. Every single song on this album is key to make the whole experience of the album. This album is just one of the best things ever made, not only in hip hop, but in music in general. I think this album is one of those times where complexity meets enjoyability. This album totally deserves a 10, and not only a 10, but also a big thank you from me, because this is the album that introduced me to Anthony Fantano, so yes. Now we go with one of the best albums I've heard in my entire life. Not the best one, but definitely up there, is Lingua Ignota's Sinner Get Ready. Let me tell you why I left this album for last. I knew nothing about Lingua Ignota. Literally, I knew nothing. I knew nothing about this album. I only watched the review from Anthony and said, yeah, let's give it a try. I listened to the first track on the album, didn't like it. I didn't like the album cover either. So I said, let's leave it at that. Then when I saw this man give a 10 to this album, I said, well, you know what? I have to try it. And even if I don't like it, I have to listen to every single song of this album. I've heard the album and I fell in love with every single song on this thing, but not only that, but with Lingua Ignota herself. This album is just the most emotional album I've ever heard in my entire life. Not a sad album. This album is not particularly sad, but the emotion that Lingua puts into every single performance, in every single one of the songs, not only in the voice, but also in the production. She was really involved with the production in this album, and you can just see it. Every single sound on the album helps her voice communicate the emotion that she wants you to feel, and it works perfectly. This album is one of the best trips that music has ever given to me. And the only reason why I found out about this album that now I hold so dear in my heart is because Anthony Fantano gave this album a 10. So I do think that this album deserves a 10. But not only this album, but Anthony Fantano as a YouTuber deserves a 10. A strong 10. Right now, he's still going strong and I still watch every single one of his videos. So thank you a lot, Anthony, for so many years of content. And I hope that if you watch this video, you enjoyed it. And one more thing I want to say. Really? A 10? Really? Really? That is it for today's video, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos that I upload. I also really recommend for you to go and watch every single one of the reviews that I talked about today. I also recommend, if you don't know about Anthony Fantano, for you to go to his channel. I'll leave the channel link in the description and also here on some pretty letters I'm going to put over here. But yeah, that will be it for today, and I really hope that we can see each other again with a new video. Bye.